tight ends, our inline tight ends, our H-backs, and then he's also going to have a pretty serious role within our special teams. The 10th coach was an interesting deal. It's new. Everything's new for me still at this point, but it's new for all of us, and there was a lot of talk within the business of, what do you do with that coach? When do you hire him? I mean, that was, the number one thing that people have been talking about now ever since that rule passed several months back. And the more I thought about it, my initial strategy was to be patient. I wanted to make sure before I went and hired that 10th coach that our staff was going to remain intact. And I did not want to go rush into hiring a 10th coach and then maybe the staff shifts some way and then you wish maybe I would have done something else other with this position. So I was definitely patient with it. I really did not give it much thought throughout the season until after the Rose Bowl, and then once the dust settled from that, started to think more seriously about it and had a chance just to reflect on the year, reflect on our staff, the setup, and the only question for me was two things: who's the best person we could go hire, and then what makes the most sense for us staff-wise? Where are our biggest holes? Where are the areas that we can continue to improve, and where can I help our assistant coaches? And Shane is always a guy that has come into my mind, kind of like Vinny, when jobs that have come up that I would always have loved to hire, and lucky to be at a place here where we were able to to get him to come. Our relationship started when I was at East Carolina. We got a chance to know each other from playing Virginia Tech throughout all those years, running into each other on the recruiting trail, and we really stayed in touch ever since. I've always kept an eye on what he was doing from Mississippi State to South Carolina, to, of course, to Virginia Tech, and then to Georgia. Been impressed with all the different positions this guy's coached. I mean, he's coached just about every position that there is and has done it at a high level. He's been a recruiting coordinator for top classes. He's been obviously a tremendous special teams coordinator. He's again a great family man, a great human being, and just felt very comfortable with bringing him to our staff. When I thought about the fit, there was honestly one thing in looking at our staff setup that I felt like I did not do a great job of last year, and really it was the amount of work that we had on Jay Boulware. When we first came here from East Carolina, not knowing exactly what way the offense would go, I even admitted that to you guys, I think, at our first press conference, that we were just going to let it evolve and go with the talent that we had. I don't know that I anticipated or knew that the H-back and the inline tight ends would become such a big part of this offense like they've evolved to too. And with that, Jay's role in the beginning was mostly running backs. You had the little bit of the H-back stuff here and there, and then obviously the special teams coordinator is it's a huge job by itself. As that H-back role, that inline tight end role continued to grow, it put more and more on him, and he's done a tremendous job. You see how, obviously the play of our backs over the last few years speaks for itself. The play of Dimitri Flowers speaks for itself. Austin Seibert's development, I think is really, he's been a key factor in that. He's done a lot of things for our staff, recruited at a high level, but I felt like I needed to spread that out a little bit, and this hire is going to do that. Shane will coach our H-backs when he will be involved with coaching our tight ends. We will work through kind of how that pans out, but certainly we'll be involved with our tight ends, especially when they're in line in the traditional tight end alignment. And again, he's a guy that's been in a lot of great offenses. I think he's going to bring new, fresh ideas for us on the offensive side of the ball, continuing to evolve and find ways to get better there, which we've got plenty that we need to address. I think he's going to help us from a recruiting standpoint. The guy's been an elite recruiter for a long time. Again, like I said, has been a recruiting coordinator for several big-time staffs. And then he's going to certainly help us on special teams. He's going to take over some of that load from Jay. Those will be things that we'll work through here in the coming weeks as we get into spring ball, and we'll continue to evolve. But I don't think I could have found a more quality guy to bring here to Norman and add to our staff. So I'm thrilled with the two hires. I don't think